Dune Prophecy episode 5 is out. Pretty much everyone's an idiot. We get introduced to characters in the fucking second to last episode. It doesn't really seem like there's any way that they can close all these plot lines satisfactorily in the last episode at this point. Overall, even this opening scene with the music clearly wants to be Game of Thrones. And I don't know if the writers don't have the talent for it. I don't know if they're limited by the book or the budget or what the deal is, but they just did not land it. So we just kind of end up with a bunch of miserable, retarded cunts, and the show wants to be smart and it's not. So let's just get into it. We start off with Desmond being publicly displayed as the Emperor's new Bashar. And as far as I can tell, this is supposed to be the origins of the Sardaukar, and Desmond is supposed to be the first Bashar. Again, more origins we don't need. And obviously, Javico wants Desmond's loyalty and to use his magic and instill fear in the houses. So his wife thinks things are going well until Francesca shows up, who we find out is the mother of the prince. And obviously, his wife would be super pissed about this. And Francesca's here on behalf of the Bene Gesserit to try to get some of their power back. So she's trying to manipulate Javico into raising their son Constantine into a high up position, because then the Bene Gesserit can control him. And this is something I've said repeatedly about this season, that the Bene Gesserit seeming hell-bent on getting the princess to become one of them doesn't even seem necessary. They literally have the prince already. Before they got greedy, Javico was wrapped around Kasha's little finger. We've seen them have massive influence within the great houses. So everything about them just reeks of having a ton of fucking power. And yet the impetus for this whole season is that they want the princess to become one of them because they don't have enough power. We get a scene of Constantine whining to his fucking sister and crying. All stuff I don't give a shit about. The Bene Gesserit are trying to figure out how to prevent these nightmares. Jen throws a tantrum because that's all she's done all fucking season. And Tula says, "Shut up, bitch," or "Get out." About fucking time. She's not a very good cult member. Tula takes Jen, who's freaking out about being expelled possibly, even though she's done nothing but bitch for 5 fucking episodes. And she shows her Lila. Lila's being possessed by one of the foremothers. And this whole part of the story makes no fucking sense to me. Lila gets possessed by one of the ancestors, and the ancestor just does a bunch of research with him and tries to help him figure out who Desmond is and how his power works. I have no fucking clue what this does to the world building. It's one thing if she gets possessed for a second or has a vision or something, but this is just straight up bringing dead people back in new flesh. I mean, you'd think there would be evil-ass Bene Gesserit who would just come back perpetually into the minds of young acolytes. And they just throw in here that Constantine is Francesca's son. As far as I'm aware, there was no real build-up to that. Didn't really give any preamble. The Empress mom didn't really seem to have any disdain for him. The sister didn't really seem to have any issues with him. The dad was just kind of annoyed he's a fucking idiot sometimes. Really strange. Another plot point that just jumps out of fucking nowhere to have massive consequences. And this little plot line pretty much both starts and ends in this episode. Or at least the purpose of this plot line does. The Harkonnen boy comes to beg for forgiveness. Obviously, he's the one who called the Emperor out last episode and then saw everyone get their insides set on fire. And Desmond says if he can prove that the Mother Superior is doing something to weaken the Emperor or assisting the rebellion or whatever, that he'll forgive him pretty much. And the Harkonnen boy says that pirates used to steal his whale fur, and he started looking for that, and then he started looking for spice and contraband to help find it, and it all led him through the underground market in Zemia, and that the rebels must have gone through the same underground market. So now Desmond has a lead he can pursue to try to quash the rebellion. Valia tells Francesca that the Emperor sidelined him, and she needs Francesca to do the honeypot and get Carino back on their side. And as transparent as it is, and we've already seen it once this season, it's obviously going to work again. And essentially Valia's plan is to have Francesca seduce Javico while her blue-eyed bartender Fremen chick, who's also a Bene Gesserit, distracts Desmond with the rebellion hunt. And this will allow Francesca's son to become commander of the fleet. Desmond stops by to see Kieran and asks if he wants to come hunt rebels, but Kieran says he can't. This is a lot of kind of filler shit. It sort of seems like he suspects him, but nothing really comes of it anyway, so whatever. And in the meantime, Constantine shows up late, and Kieran tells him to get his head out of his ass. And that's the lesson for today, which obviously ends up motivating Constantine, along with the shit going on with his mom, and it fucks over Kieran in the end. Kieran tries to go to warn Michaela, whose name I could not remember, And that shows you how interesting these characters are. That she needs to leave, they're looking for rebels, and she essentially says, get fucked. So Mother Raquella is possessing Lila, and now they can do the research that they were seeking. No clue how any of this fucking works. I'm assuming we get no explanation. Again, no rules, no limits. Just something the plot needs, and then when it's done, you're supposed to just forget about it. And I fucking hate the relationship between Valia and the Harkonnen boy. Literally every scene, he's like, I don't trust you, you're just manipulating me. And then listens to everything that she says. And that's been the entire fucking season. Again, just makes the characters seem like absolute fucking idiots. And we get some exposition here from Valia, where she's explaining that imprinting is essentially like super seduction. I don't know when this was introduced from the Bene Gesserit, like what book or who did it or whatever. But at some point, it's like these bitches have so many powers. Why are they even operating behind the scenes? I mean, they can just fuck people into submission, speak into submission. They have all the breeding shit they control. Like, why operate from the shadows when you have all the power? We cut to Francesca, who's asking Javico to give Constantine real responsibility. And of course he does. Man, they really did not get any lookers for this show, did they? Anyway, the old lady who's annoying Avila, whatever the fuck, comes and is bitching at Tula because she's not taking care of the students during time of crisis. Tula's trying to tell her to fuck off. And Lila, possessed, comes out and says that it's a genetically modified airborne RNA retrovirus, which is a bunch of fucking science mumbo jumbo that doesn't actually mean shit. And it doesn't make any more fucking sense of this story. Like I said that it wouldn't. Because they're looking at the amygdala of Kasha, who's the one who died first. And she was also across the galaxy when that happened. So unless they're going to try to say that the virus infected her airborne when she was around Desmond, and then once she was afraid, it triggered, and that's what burned her from the inside out. I still don't think it makes any fucking sense, because he's been using this shit on all kinds of people. So they're trying to give a scientific explanation that doesn't really make any sense for what we've seen on the screen. And also the old lady bitches about Lila being an abomination, and Tula just keeps being like, I'm in charge. So yeah, this is kind of just a disastrous scene, I think, for the story and the world building. Back at the bar, we saw the bartender had a bunch of bombs, and she's rigging the whole place to blow from underneath in her little secret area where all the spice and shit is. He accuses her of insurgent activity in the bar. She denies it, and they set about tearing the place apart. And the action in the scene starts off okay, where Kieran is like sneaking up on them and picking them off one by one. Of course, they're not wearing their shields, or their shields aren't activated for whatever fucking reason. But it just devolves into a big 1-on-10 fight, and makes the Sardaukar look like total pussies, because he just mows them down with a little help from Michaela. Kieran's cutting them down, and Desmond hears them fighting, but then just kind of moseys along, which would be annoying in that Kieran gets away for it, but then he gets caught in a retarded way at the end, so I guess it works out. She tries to run, one of the guys grabs her, and she uses her Bene Gesserit specific knife that apparently only they use in the whole fucking universe, because Kieran recognizes it right away. Meanwhile, upstairs, Desmond finds her Bene Gesserit robes. So she's supposed to be deep undercover for years, uses only the weapon that apparently no one else uses besides them, and has her robes in a fucking barrel just in case she needs to dress up, I guess. Completely fucking moronic. And this is supposed to be the super secret spy organization of manipulators. I mean, give me a fucking break. And we follow that fucking idiocy with maybe the biggest plot armor in the whole show so far. Desmond is in the middle of this giant fucking explosion and just lives, activates his shield, and I guess that's enough. Fucking invincible. This show really encapsulates part of my frustration for the entire thing. This scene really encapsulates part of my frustrations with this entire show. Kieran confronts her. He decides not to kill her, which is kind of whatever, I guess. But he's essentially accusing her of letting her people, which are the Fremen, get exploited by the Bene Gesserit and the Empire, or the Imperium. And she's saying that what they're doing is best for the Imperium. And this could be a really interesting conflict for her if we knew anything about her or gave a shit about her at all. Like the idea of her being a Fremen and a Bene Gesserit and having to make these tough choices. That could be really interesting all on its own. And instead we get one scene thrown in 3/4 of the way through episode 5, which is the penultimate episode. I just don't fucking understand really any of these decisions where they kind of want these payoffs and there's been no setup. Jan is bitching at Tula about the Sisterhood still, and Desmond just stands up. Good to go. Constantine's pissed off, and he's drinking, and he's asking his mom what was the purpose of him being born, because the Bene Gesserit do everything with a purpose. And eventually she says it was to protect your sister. That's why you were born. And again, all stuff that could be really interesting in a better show. If we gave a shit about Constantine, if the relationship with his mother had been explored before episode fucking 5 out of 6, the idea that maybe she's a total bitch and just manipulating him, or maybe she is struggling as a mother to make these decisions about her son. All that stuff could be really interesting. And we're left with an asshole I don't care about and an asshole that I just met. So I feel nothing. Michaela's mad at Valia. Valia says, we'll move you somewhere else. Get fucked. And here we get to arguably the most retarded part of the entire episode. Kieran leaves his little box in the training room locker where all the swords are kept, unlocked. So Constantine happens to stumble across it, pulls it out, sees the blueprint hologram of the building, and realizes that Kieran's a traitor, and turns him in. So the guy who's been working to this position for years, one of the highest up rebel spies, presumably, I mean, he's literally right next to the Emperor. This is how fucking dumb he is, that he leaves rebellion plans in a fucking shoebox in a public area locker. What an absolute load of horse shit. That just makes the characters fucking stupid once again. And we see Kieran get arrested. Constantine rubs it in a little bit. Now he's doing the duty he was born for and protecting his sister. They have their fancy dinner. Javico announces Constantine is commander of the fleet. Francesca's imprinting / honeypot worked. And the Empress is pissed and storms off. Inez goes and sees Kieran. She's pretty upset. Probably going to do something stupid next episode. And it seems like he at least believes everything that he says. So my guess is that she's going to try to break him out, because she's already pissed off about the Desmond Hart thing anyway. But I guess we'll see. And it looks like Lila's awake and not possessed. No clue what they're going to do with her next episode. Probably kill her off. Tula's testing the DNA of Desmond. We see the result of the DNA test as Bloodline Harkonnen and Atreides. And as the Empress is bitching about how the witches have taken everything from her, Desmond says that his mom was a sister. So it seems like it's pretty much a certainty that it's Tula. Not sure what's going to come of that in the one episode we have left, though. And then it looks like Javico's hooking up with Francesca, the Empress is hooking up with Desmond, and everyone's getting on my fucking nerves. That's it for this episode. Bunch of cliffhangers, bunch of open threads. Hard to imagine how they wrap it up in one episode. Bunch of fucking idiocy. Bunch of questionable world building. I said episode 4 was probably the best of the season. I think that'll still be correct after next week. It's certainly correct after this week. So I'm going to leave it here for this one. If you've seen it, let me know what you think. Try to respond to all the comments that aren't just insults. Like and subscribe and all that shit. Thanks. See ya.